Welcome back to the My Next Startup Edge podcast, the podcast that gives your startup the edge. This is the final episode in our mini-series on first principles thinking. I'm Dirk Lammertz, your host. If you're an entrepreneur, innovator, or startup founder looking to disrupt industries, you are in the right place. Let me ask you, who comes to your mind as the most prominent entrepreneur and innovator who repeatedly brought breakthrough products to life, products that disrupted or created entire industries, and did so by questioning long-held beliefs and ignored industry standards and practices that seemed to be cast in stone? If I'd asked you this question 10 years ago, the unanimous answer would have been Steve Jobs. And while Steve's legacy still looms large over the industries that Apple created and dominated, there's a new challenger for the title, and that person is Elon Musk. But how did he actually do that? The answer is first principles thinking. And Elon did not only disrupt one industry, but two: self-driving EVs at Tesla and spaceflight at SpaceX by applying first principles thinking. So today, Audrey and Nick are diving deep into what happened when Elon Musk and his teams at Tesla and at SpaceX asked themselves this one fundamental question: if I started from scratch, what would I create? As a result, both companies broke with many traditions and long-held beliefs. At Tesla, based on the fundamental principle that cars should be computers on wheels, not just mechanical machines. And at SpaceX, based on the realization that rockets are expensive because they are discarded after one use. So let's make them reusable. Enjoy.
The path we tread, breaking through where no one's
All right, let's dive right in today. We're going to be cracking open the playbook of a real innovator, Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah, he's a fascinating guy.
He is. And, we hear all this about first principles thinking, but what we're going to do today is we're not going to spend time on what it is. We're going straight to the good stuff. We're going to see it in action.
I like that.
Yeah, so
let's get right into it.
Exactly. And in particular, we're going to unpack how Musk used this approach to redefine not one, but two entire industries.
It's crazy to think about.
I know, it's amazing. So electric cars with Tesla and space travel with SpaceX.
Yeah, what a combo.
I know, right? And our guide for this journey is episode 5 of the My Next Startup Edge podcast, hosted by Dirk Lammertz.
Okay, yeah.
He had some really great insights into how Musk and his teams applied this thinking model. And we're going to kind of dissect those.
Cool.
Yeah, we're going to really see, okay, what are the specific principles they unearthed, and then how did those lead to groundbreaking innovations?
Because it's one thing to have a principle, but it's another thing to put it into practice.
Totally. And that's what we're going to focus on is like the rubber meets the road. How do we actually apply this stuff?
Exactly.
So buckle up. We're starting with Tesla.
Okay.
Before they came along, electric vehicles were, let's face it, kind of a niche product.
Yeah, they were seen as kind of clunky and, limited range, not stylish.
Yeah, definitely not cool.
No, not the head turners you'd see cruising down the highway.
Exactly.
Like you said, niche.
Yeah, and, I think part of that was because the industry was really stuck in a rut. They were essentially trying to cram electric powertrains into the existing framework of gas-powered cars.
Yeah, they were kind of playing it safe, not really pushing the boundaries.
Exactly. But Tesla ripped up that blueprint.
Yeah, they say forget that.
Yeah, they're like, what if we completely reimagine the concept of a car?
Yeah, like from the ground up.
They didn't just want to build a better electric car. They wanted to redefine the whole experience.
They were thinking different.
Totally. And that's where the magic of first principles thinking comes in.
Okay.
They broke down the problem to its fundamental truth.
Yeah, it got to the essence of it.
Exactly. And uncovered 5 core principles that turned the auto industry on its head.
All right, I'm excited to hear what those are.
Let's get into it. So principle number 1, cars are computers on wheels.
Okay.
So what's fascinating about this is that Tesla recognized the potential of software to revolutionize the driving experience.
That's interesting because at the time, people didn't really think of cars as computers.
No, they didn't. It was like a totally separate thing.
Yeah.
But, they really thought deeply about this, and they were like, wait a minute, if computers can handle the complexities of the stock market, why not the intricacies of driving?
Right, like the potential is huge.
Exactly. And, this led to one of Tesla's most revolutionary features, over-the-air software updates.
Oh, yeah.
Your car literally gets smarter and more capable overnight.
That's still kind of mind-blowing to me.
I know. It's amazing.
Like, it's not just a hunk of metal anymore. It's constantly evolving.
Totally. And, you were talking about it's not a hunk of metal. It completely changes the dynamic of car ownership because now your car is no longer a static product. It's a constantly evolving piece of technology.
Yeah, that's a huge shift.
It is. And, it's like getting a brand new car every time you download an update.
That's a pretty sweet deal.
Right. Like, who wouldn't want that?
Exactly.
All right, on to principle number 2, full self-driving could be achieved with vision.
Okay.
This one really blew my mind when I first learned about it.
I can imagine, the prevailing wisdom at the time was that you needed LiDAR, those spinning laser sensors, to create a 3D map of the environment for a car to drive itself.
Right. It seems so obvious now, but Tesla went back to basics. And they asked, how do humans drive?
Yeah, with our eyes.
Exactly. We use our eyes.
It's so simple.
I know. And so they decided to build a system that mimics the human brain using cameras and artificial intelligence to perceive and navigate the world.
Bold move.
Yeah. And I've actually ridden in a Tesla with autopilot, and it's almost eerie how well it works.
Really?
Like, really impressive.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty amazing.
And what makes their approach so innovative is that the AI is trained on real-world data, not just simulations. So this is principle number 3.
Okay.
The key to autonomy is fleet learning.
So every Tesla out there is contributing.
Exactly. Every Tesla on the road is a data-gathering machine feeding information back to the AI.
Wow, so it's like having millions of drivers constantly teaching the AI how to handle every imaginable road condition.
That's exactly what it is. And that gives them such a huge advantage because they're not relying on pre-programmed scenarios. Their AI is learning and adapting in real time.
It's a much more dynamic and responsive system.
Yeah, and you know what that means? It means it's more robust and it's more capable.
Yeah, because it's constantly learning and improving.
Exactly. Okay, on to principle number 4. Electric vehicles should be designed for maximum efficiency.
Okay.
So they basically threw out the old gas-powered playbook and started from scratch.
They're like, let's rethink this whole thing.
Exactly, and they realized that to maximize efficiency, you have to rethink the entire vehicle architecture. It's not just about swapping out a gas engine for an electric one.
Right, it's a holistic approach.
Totally. And this led to some seriously impressive innovations, ultra-efficient motors, sleek aerodynamic designs.
Yeah, the Teslas are known for their looks.
Yeah, they cut through the air like a bullet, and then regenerative braking, which captures energy when you slow down. It's all about squeezing every ounce of performance out of that battery.
So it's not just about the battery itself, it's about how the whole car works together.
Exactly, and that focus on efficiency directly translates into a better driving experience.
Yeah, makes sense.
Think about it. Tesla's range on a single charge blows other electric vehicles out of the water.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's a testament to how powerful this principle can be.
Absolutely. All right, what's number 5?
Right. Principle number 5, charging should be as convenient as refueling a gas car.
Okay, that's a big one.
Yeah, no more hanging around at charging stations for hours on end.
Because nobody wants to do that.
No one wants to do that. And this is where Tesla really thought ahead.
Okay.
They understood that if electric vehicles were going to go mainstream, charging had to be fast and convenient.
Yeah, it had to be easy.
And that's precisely what they did with the supercharger network.
Oh, yeah.
You pull up to a supercharger, grab a coffee and a snack, and boom, your car is fully charged and ready to go.
That's a game changer, especially for long-distance travel.
Right.
You're not waiting around for hours.
Exactly. They anticipated a major pain point for EV adoption, and they addressed it head on.
That's smart.
Okay, so to recap, Tesla's first principles thinking led them to create electric vehicles that are software-driven, self-learning, hyper-efficient, and incredibly convenient to charge.
They really did rethink the whole thing.
Yeah, they didn't just build a better electric car, they reinvented the entire concept.
Impressive.
It really is, and it's remarkable what can happen when you break down a problem to its core and rebuild from there.
It's like starting with a blank slate.
Exactly, and that's what they did. And, now hold on tight because in the next part, we're blasting off into the even more mind-boggling realm of SpaceX.
Oh, boy.
And their quest to make space travel affordable. Get ready for some serious rocket science.
I'm ready. Let's go. Okay, so from electric cars to the cosmos.
To the stars.
Yeah, get ready for liftoff because now we're diving into SpaceX and their pretty much crazy goal of making space travel affordable.
It was like the exclusive domain of governments and the ultra-wealthy,
Yeah, it was this super exclusive club, and rockets were treated as like single-use vehicles, launch them once, and then it's bye-bye billions of dollars.
Yeah, like throwing money into space, literally.
Literally, and the traditional aerospace industry, they just operated with these massive budgets and this throwaway mentality, and that just made space exploration so costly.
Yeah, but then comes along SpaceX and they're like, wait a minute, does it really have to be this way?
Like, what if we challenge that assumption?
Exactly. And with their first principles thinking caps on, they started dissecting those long-held assumptions. And, it might seem obvious now, but their first principle was a real shocker back then. Rockets are expensive because they are discarded after one use.
Yeah, it's like throwing away a jumbo jet after just one flight.
I know, it's crazy.
Crazy.
And so SpaceX recognized this as the biggest roadblock to making space travel accessible. And I have to say, those Falcon 9 landings, what a sight.
Oh, spectacular. Just a total game changer.
I know, it's amazing to see those rockets come back down and land, gently.
Yeah, and ready for another mission. Like, that's the key.
Exactly. All right, on to principle number 2. The high cost of space launches comes from complex manufacturing and reliance on custom parts. So the traditional aerospace industry, they seem to love those specialized one-off components, which of course drove up costs.
Yeah, they were all about those custom-made parts.
But SpaceX, they took a page from the automotive industry's playbook and embraced vertical integration.
Okay, bringing a lot of that manufacturing in-house.
Exactly, which gave them much tighter control over the cost and production timelines.
Makes sense. Streamline the process.
Yeah, and importantly, they focused on mass production techniques, standardizing components wherever possible. So this simplified manufacturing, but it also sped up production. And this was a real shakeup for the established aerospace supply chain.
Yeah, they were disrupting the industry.
Big time. And, I love this analogy. It's like the difference between handcrafting a bespoke suit versus producing, high-quality clothing on a larger scale.
I get it.
Both have their place, but when you want to make something more affordable and accessible, mass production is the way to go.
Exactly. Efficiency is key.
Okay, so this leads us to their third principle: fuel costs are minimal compared to the cost of the rocket structure.
Okay, that one might surprise some people.
It surprised me. I always assumed that fuel would be the biggest expense, but it turns out it's actually just a tiny fraction of the overall cost.
So the real savings come from reusing the entire rocket, not just minimizing fuel consumption.
Exactly, and it's a perfect example of how first principles thinking helps you zero in on what truly moves the needle.
You got to look at the big picture.
Yeah, it's like obsessing over saving a few cents on your daily coffee while completely overlooking a much larger, unnecessary expense.
Yeah, you got to prioritize.
Okay, so this leads directly to principle number 4: rockets do not need to be disposed with after one flight.
I mean, it seems so obvious now.
And I know, right?
That was a radical idea at the time.
But we reuse airplanes all the time, so why not rockets?
Yeah, it makes you wonder why it took so long for someone to challenge that assumption.
And SpaceX, they tackled this challenge head-on. From a purely engineering perspective, they developed heat shields, landing legs, and sophisticated guidance systems to enable those incredible pinpoint landings.
It's still mind-blowing to me that they figured out how to make a giant metal tube withstand the scorching heat of atmospheric re-entry and then gently touch down on a platform in the middle of the ocean.
I know, it's incredible. It seems like science fiction.
It really does.
Okay, now let's talk about their fifth and final principle. The aerospace industry over-engineered components to achieve those extreme margins of safety.
Okay, so they were playing it extra safe.
Yeah, the traditional approach is all about redundancy and overbuilding, which ultimately led to increased complexity, added weight, and of course higher costs.
Yeah, it's like adding layers upon layers of safety features.
Exactly. But SpaceX took a more pragmatic approach. They focused on standardization and modularity, using common designs across multiple rockets, which streamlined production significantly.
So it's about finding that balance between safety and efficiency.
Right, and this was a departure from the every mission is unique mindset that had dominated the industry for so long. So by challenging these 5 seemingly untouchable assumptions, SpaceX achieved what many thought was impossible, making space travel significantly more affordable and opening up a world of new possibilities.
It's amazing what they've accomplished.
It really is, and the impact is undeniable. Their Falcon 9 launches now cost a fraction of what traditional launches used to. It's sparked a revolution in the space industry.
Yeah, they've really shaken things up.
And I read somewhere that they've reduced launch costs by something like 90%.
That's insane.
It's phenomenal, and this has allowed them to do things like launch a constellation of satellites for their Starlink internet service.
Right.
And of course, they're setting their sights on sending humans to Mars.
That's the ultimate goal.
It is, and it really highlights the power of questioning assumptions and thinking from first principles.
It's a powerful lesson for anyone, not just in the space industry, but in any field.
Exactly. It shows what can be accomplished when you break free from conventional wisdom and ask, why can't we do things differently? It really is inspiring to see what they've done, and how they've really reshaped the whole landscape of space exploration.
It really shows you what's possible when you set these big, ambitious goals, but then combine them with that, rigorous commitment to thinking from first principles.
Yeah, and speaking of first principles, I know you had a thought-provoking question for our listeners today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I want you to just think for a second about your own field, whatever industry you're in, what are those assumptions that are so ingrained that nobody even questions them anymore?
Yeah.
Like, what are those things that everybody just accepts as truth?
It's like the water we swim in. We don't even realize it's there.
Exactly. And so the question is, what incredible breakthroughs might be possible if you started challenging those assumptions?
Yeah.
Like, what if you took a step back and said, why is it done this way?
And what if we could do it differently?
Exactly, because we've seen what happens when, someone like Elon Musk comes along and just relentlessly questions the status quo. It can lead to some seriously groundbreaking innovations.
Yeah. And sometimes the most revolutionary ideas come from just asking why.
It's that simple.
Just that one little word.
Why?
And refusing to accept the conventional wisdom.
Sometimes the simplest questions are the most powerful.
Absolutely. So if you're ready to explore the power of first principles thinking for yourself, I highly recommend checking out episode 5 of the My Next Startup Edge podcast.
Yeah, Dirk does a fantastic job of, really breaking down this mental model and showing how you can apply it to pretty much any field.
Yeah, and he gives lots of great examples.
Yeah, it's a really valuable resource.
So definitely check that out. And remember, keep diving deep, keep questioning, and keep learning.
Never stop, man.
Who knows, maybe you'll be the next Elon Musk revolutionizing an industry with your bold ideas and unwavering determination.
That's what it's all about, pulling the boundaries and making the impossible possible.
The future belongs to those who dare to challenge the impossible.
I love that.
Until next time, keep exploring.
In the shadows, ideas ignite. A spark of brilliance cuts through the night. Chasing dreams, the edge of the unknown. Building futures, foundations of stone. Start a pledge, the power